Hello there. This is Mommy with Flowers by the Bunch. Today I need to make an arrangement of roses. We're going to do a traditional red dozen roses, but we're going to make it a premium instead of a classic. So we'll start out with a classic. I'll show you what a classic looks like, and then we'll add the extra flowers for a premium. I'm starting out with a glass vase. This is a 9.5-inch rose vase. And I have filled it with fresh water, added a little bit of flower food. This is leather leaf. I like to start out with leather leaf as my base foliage. I'm going to use a floral knife. I'm going to hold that greenery right there between that thumb and my forefinger, kind of right there in the crook of my fingers, and I am going to pull with my opposite hand. Hold it, pull. So I'm not pulling the knife toward me, I'm actually pulling the greenery away from the knife. And so that's how I use a floral knife. So I'm gonna fill up my vase with a little bit of leather, and this is a leather leaf fern. We use leather leaf fern a lot in our floral designs, and we use it as a base. So it just kind of fills in and it holds our flowers in place. The wonderful part about using a floral knife, the part that I love the most, is that I'm able to continue to hold that knife in my hand as I design. So I don't have to cut the flower or the stem with snips, lay down my snips, pick it up, cut, lay down, pick up, and cut. I find that I am far faster and more productive using a floral knife. So that's the reason I like it the most. So here is our base of greenery. It's just leather leaf green. I probably used about 10 stems or so, 8 or 10 stems. Next I'm going to come in with some myrtle to give us some height. So myrtle is it is a foliage, and these are just myrtle branches. We ordered this in from Florida. I get it from my wholesaler in Florida, and he comes on a truck. He brings us our foliage and he brings us our green plants. So I'm going to start out with this myrtle. I'm going to take it and I'm going to strip off the bottom leaves that might fall below my water line. Now this is the type of thing that I would use snips for. So you see me use a knife all of the time, a floral knife all the time. A woody stem is a little hard to cut with my floral knife, so I like to use floral snips when cutting greenery like this. So I just take my snips, cut that at an angle, and tuck that right in. Usually when using myrtle, I use about 3 pieces or so, just to kind of give me some height in this arrangement, and it just looks pretty. So I use roughly 3 pieces. Next I'm going to come in with a little bit of tree fern. Tree fern is another type of fern. The wonderful part about tree fern is it doesn't bite. Now a lot of the ferns have little barbs that bite. Tree fern does not, so that's always nice. It's nice to work with something that doesn't bite you. Spring rye and other ferns that are kind of have this little hairy effect, they will bite, but tree fern does not. All right, so I added just a touch of tree fern. I don't use tree fern a whole lot, and it's not because I don't like it, it's just because we don't get it in very often, but it's pretty and it fills in the space. So there is my myrtle, my leather leaf, and my tree fern. Next we're going to come in with our roses. So today I am working with red heart roses. So a red heart rose is really a deeper red color than a traditional rose, like, and I say a traditional, a freedom, or what are some other red roses? Gosh, a freedom is just a bright colored red. Anyway, a heart rose is a little deeper in color, and it has more petals. It's got a larger petal count. I have wired these roses. I wired all of them but one, and of course I don't see the one that wasn't wired. Here it is. I'm going to show you how I like to wire roses. We wire all of our long stem roses, and it's just strictly because I like the guarantee that that little head is not going to dip. I'm going to take my wire. This is 1/3 of a piece of wire. It's 21 gauge. That's the gauge wire that I like the best. I'm going to take that wire and I'm going to press it right there underneath the swollen part of the rose. So right there in that in the stem, and then I'm just spinning that wire or twisting that wire right around that stem. Now that's going to keep his little head standing up. I'm going to take a floral knife. I'm going to catch that knife, and you can see where I'm holding that stem. I'm pulling the rose with my opposite hand, and I am going to place that rose right in to that vase. So I'm kind of working it down into that foliage. Now with these roses, they have a whole lot of thorns. I have removed the thorns, so they will not be biting us, are biting me, but I like to remove the thorns when working with roses because they bite. So I have my first rose in there, but I've come to realize that this rose is a little taller, so I'm going to cut this one just slightly, and I am going to tuck that one in as my tallest. So what I'm going to do is graduate down in size. So here's my tallest, my next tallest. I'm going to do probably about 3 at this height and come all the way around the arrangement. So I'm going to try to go about that height. Cut that stem at an angle with my floral knife. Tuck that in. Take my next rose. Go about that height. Cut my stem at an angle and tuck that in. So there's the next 3. So that's 4 roses. I'm going to check any of these roses, and if they have a mark on the petal, I'm going to go ahead and remove that petal. Next, I'm going to graduate down to about there, okay? So I'm going to take my knife, cut that stem at an angle, and tuck it in. Now remember, you always want to cut less off than you think you might need to, because you cannot put stem back on. You can always cut more off. So always be sparing when cutting. Don't try not to cut them too short. Leave them longer than you think they might need to be. So I'm just going all the way around, and you can see I'm kind of stair-stepping those roses in this arrangement. I think I can use another one here at this height. And you'll keep adding roses until all 12 of your roses are added. And you just graduate down in their height. Now, I will tell you, I found that in designing roses took practice. It took practice, number one, to get those dang roses to stand up in there and to be pretty all the way around. So you see they're kind of graduated all the way around, meaning they kind of stair step in that arrangement. This one's wanting to wiggle a little bit, so I'm gonna pull him out and rearrange him to see if I can get him to stand upright. Okay. So you see they're kind of graduated all the way around. Next, I'm going to come in with my filler flower. And the filler flower I have chosen is Solidago. So I'm going to take my stems of Solidago, and you're going to basically do exactly what you did with your roses. Take that stem, cut a little bit off. You're going to put some high and just kind of go all the way through the arrangement with your filler flower. Now there are lots of filler flowers that you can use. Baby's breath, wax flower, Caspia, Monte Cassino aster, Solidago aster. There's lots of things you can use. Solidago is my favorite. I've always loved Solidago. It's easy to use, and it's hardy, and I find it goes a pretty long way. And it doesn't stink. You know, Caspia, if you've ever used Caspia doesn't smell good. I'm not really sure why anybody would choose to use Caspia, except that it's It's cheap and it works well, but it doesn't smell good. So I don't love to use cassia, but that's all in preference. Okay, so this is what we would call a traditional dozen roses, okay? So it's 12 roses arranged in a vase, greenery, filler flower, and then we would top it off with a pretty bow. And so that would be my traditional. That would be our classic. Our classic dozen roses here sells for $80 on a regular day, okay? And what I mean by a regular day is that's not Valentine prices. Valentine prices, they go up a little bit. They're a little more expensive just because they're more expensive for us. So this is a classic dozen roses with an added bow. Next, we're going to make this a premium dozen roses. So we're going to add some line flower to this arrangement. So I'm going to start out with bells of Ireland because they're tall and showy. I'm going to take my bell and I'm going to pinch the tips out of that bell just because I like to. I don't like that all the greenery in there. I'm going to strip some of the blooms off the bottom. Take my floral knife, cut it at an angle, and I am just going to tuck it right into my arrangement. Now this is going to give this arrangement some height and just make it a showier arrangement. Now our premium dozen roses with the extra flowers added, we sell for $125 here at our shop. So this is 4 stems of bells of Ireland that I'm adding. So see how that kind of gives it height and just makes it a little fancier. Next I'm going to come in with some white stock. So this is pretty white stock. It smells pretty, it looks nice. I'm going to take that stem and cut it at an angle and just tuck it right into this arrangement. And I'm going to do 5 stems of stock. All right, so there are our extra flowers added in. So next we're going to tie a bow, a pretty bow to add to our arrangement. So I've got a couple of different varieties of ribbon, so I thought I would do a stacked bow. This is actually for a birthday, so we're going to do a fun birthday bow. So we have a red and white polka dot, and then we have kind of a burlap number 40 ribbon. It's a faux burlap, it's not a true burlap. So I'm going to take my ribbon and I'm going to hold it. I'm leaving a little bit of a tail and I've got the polka dots facing me. I'm going to make a loop and I'm holding it between my pointer finger and my thumb, and I'm going to twist so that the print is facing me. Make another loop, twist, another loop. So I'm going to do 5 total loops. So that's 3 so far, 4, 5. Okay, and so I'm going to cut this ribbon here. So those are our tails there. Okay, next I'm going to add my burlap ribbon, my faux burlap. I'm going to take that burlap ribbon. I'm going to do the same, but I'm not going to tie this off yet. I'm just going to take this ribbon and lay it right there on the back of my bow. And I'm going to do, I believe, 3 loops of this. So 1 loop, a loop, twist, a loop, twist, and leave my tail. Okay, so here is my bow. Set that ribbon to the side. I'm going to take half of a piece of florist wire. This again is 21 gauge. It's my favorite. It's just a good gauge. It's not too heavy, but not too light. I'm going to take that wire and I'm going to bend it up. So both of those pieces are sticking up here. I'm going to take my pointer finger, push that ribbon, and twist that wire really tightly. Next, I'm going to hold that wire with this thumb here, and I'm going to fluff my bow. I'm going to take those tails and give them a little bit of a crimp. So there's my bow. I'm going to take a florist pick. So my little florist pick, I'm going to lay this wire right on that pick, the wire that I tied the bow with. I'm going to wrap it right around that pick. And then the pick also has a little piece of wire on it right here. I'm going to wrap that around the wire that I just wrapped around the stem. Okay? So there's my pretty bow. I'm going to find the front of my arrangement. I think this is the front. Lift that greenery up. Add my pretty bow and go ahead and fluff it, make it pretty. And there is our premium dozen roses. Guys, I hope this tutorial helps. If you have any questions about how I design roses or the reasons why I do the things I do, don't hesitate to ask those questions down below. We're happy to answer any questions you might have. Guys, you have a wonderful afternoon and we will see you all real soon. Thanks.